want to create is just a space, a little space for the next 40 minutes or so, where we can all just kind of look at where we're going with our health, what are our main challenges, and know that nothing is insurmountable. When we have the right information and the right tools, your body is an amazing organism to help support you, not just through the next week or the next month, but it's going to carry you as far as you want it to carry you until it's done with its natural life, right? And I want you to think about just different things that you might not think about while we're in this little community talking about health, talking about challenges to health, because we all have challenges to health, and talking about what our barriers are, what are our things that we come up against, what are our old habits, and what things do we run into that are stressful at Christmas time or holiday time or around the change of the year. So in your packet, you all have a packet. There's a little survey on the front just asking you, what you're interested in, what your interests, what you want to know more about for your health, your friends, and your family. And then there's a couple of things in there that will give you an idea. There's a questionnaire in there that you can fill out on your own time, and it's just going to give you some insight into what's going on with your brain, which is a big part of our health. And if you put your name on that, you can hand it in, and I'll look through those. No charge. I'll look through those and see if there's anything that jumps out at me. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes there is. And there's a blank page on there, which is the most important page. The blank page is for you to jot notes. Any notes, anything that comes into your mind during the course of the next 40 minutes. Things that resonate with you, things that you have an aha moment with. So feel free to use those because they're going to give you some hints, some guideways. We're out of our normal habits. We're sitting down here in the middle of the week between 6 and 7 o'clock, and we're doing something different. Okay. So with that said, we're going to move through this Surviving the Holidays. And the reason I created this is I've been doing clinical nutrition now for 15 years, and we really expanded that in the last 10 years to where we consult with patients across the United States, and so we also talk to other doctors about using clinical nutrition. And one of the things that I see commonly is people start doing really well, and then they derail themselves heavily on the holiday season. So we're going to talk about some of the things that can derail us, and why they derail us. Okay. So if we'd like to advance the slides more, we're going to get right into this. And we're going to talk about this slides. The holidays are a challenging time to maintain your diet and exercise goals in the midst of parties, holiday treats, and changes to normal routines. It's difficult to know exactly how much diet transgressions and skipped workouts will affect your overall health and healing. Now, for some of us, we're on a regular schedule where we do stuff. Some of us are not doing stuff, exercise-wise. And it all depends on stress, right? It depends on what's going on in routine. We've only got so much stuff that we can do. And if we add something, we have to put something down to include that. And sometimes exercise will drop out, or sometimes our diet will drop out. And the juggling act is to how do we keep these things going to help us feel good and vital. So it's hard to know what to do. And then the other thing that happens with this, let's advance that slide again. One of the things that happens when somebody starts doing nutrition, they start their nutrition program with a lot of enthusiasm and energy, like, right, go. And they usually get great results in the first month or two, and then they start getting this thing that I refer to as the dip. It's the period between starting doing nutrition and getting mastery over your body. And it's also the period when most people will experience some challenges. Because the big stuff's all gone. They got the wow, the energy came up, or the headaches went away, or they're sleeping through the night, or the chronic UTIs start to go down, or whatever it is. and then we start getting complacent. Let's move that forward one more time. So one of the things that happens when you go through this, if you're not aware of what's happening to you, or you're feeling better, yeah, I'm doing better, but then there's this that keeps going on, you start getting more average results. And average results means cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and cognitive, mind-brain decline. These are the big four things that are accelerating at an alarming rate in the US, not just in the US, in the UK too, where I'm from. Some of us are in this area if we're already doing nutrition and we're tempted to give up or quit, tempted by all the stuff we could do or consume that would sabotage our health, and that's exaggerated during the holidays, right? You're onto a friend's house and you go, oh, I got Christmas cookies. You're like, Christmas cookies, yay! And it's like, you know, that might not work for you to do a whole handful of that and a bunch of alcohol. Or that starts happening on a more regular basis, which is exactly what happens during a holiday. Family and friends, holiday parties. So how do you navigate that? Let's advance that again. So just a couple of facts here. This is from 2011. This is the National Diabetes Fact Center in the United States. 26 million children and adults in the United States, that's 8.3% of the population, have diabetes. This is 4 years ago. In 1980, this figure was 6 million. So, you know, in the course of 21 years, it's gone from 6 million to 26 million. And the number of new cases in this time, 97 to 2004, of diagnosed diabetes has increased by 54%. Huge. You know, what's going on there? And we all know someone who's got diabetes. We have someone, one patient every month that we see comes into the clinic and we end up diagnosing them with type 2 diabetes. It's very common. High blood pressure, another one. 30% more Americans have high blood pressure than they did 10 years ago. This is the Journal of the American Heart Association. You know, what's going on here? Why are people getting sicker? Let's advance that again. This is the American Cancer Society, 2006 report, 9 years ago. Over a third of all cancers are directly linked to dietary choices. We're talking dietary choices. We're not talking hereditary. We're talking dietary choices. And the big one most of you are familiar with, 75% of Americans will be overweight by 2015, according to Johns Hopkins. This is a couple of years ago. We are at 2015. Well, up. And 3 of them are going to be overweight in this country. So how do we maintain our goals? The number one challenge is we've already got our pre-existing stress, our stresses whatsoever, and that is Christmas. We've got travel. We've got travel out of state. We've got travel in state. Do we have more travel in state locally? Yes. Do we have more travel out of state? Sometimes yes. Do you have travel out of the country? Sometimes yes. Family. Where are our kids? What are our parents doing? What are our siblings doing? We have to lay all extra stress. Do they live out of state? Money. Did we have a big bonanza at the end of November that covers all the extra stresses and finances of travel coming up in December? No. You usually have the same type of income. And emotionally, what happens at the holidays? People tend to get more emotional at holidays. I've been in the United States 22 years. I get back to see my folks and family about every 2 to 3 years. And at holiday times, I always think of them if I'm not back home. And I know it's true for everybody. We all have emotions, or people that have passed on. We'll remember them too. And then temptations. You got the thing that used to taste fantastic when you were 6. And sometimes, when you find that thing that tasted fantastic when you were 6, it makes you feel real good. But maybe you just don't need to eat the whole thing, right? Maybe just a little bit reminds you, oh yeah, I remember that's really sweet. That's terrible. But the problem is that the holidays cause more stress. Is that we already go into the holidays with many stresses that are all going on. So they just get elevated at this time because we want to celebrate. That's who we are. We engage with people and we like to have fun. So how can we do that without really tanking the body? Let's move forward on the slide then. Now, you guys are going to take a minute without writing down anything, and I want you to try and remember these 10 words. The big sign in the corner there. Just try it. Take a minute. I'm going to write them down. Okay, let's move on from that slide. One of the things we're talking about for all people who are involved in nutrition is we will run this test. And this test will show us at that point in time how much adaptability, this is adaptability down here, this would be the most adaptable on a 1, and the physiological function on the bottom. It's the best to the worst, which is down in the red here. So if someone comes in up here, this little diamond up here, means they're the most adaptable and their body's functioning the best. We will see this in teenagers who have no life stress, who are very physically fit. You don't see this a lot, right up through here. We'll see some very fit and well-balanced people up here. We'll see special forces guys coming around through here. The rest of it's all over the map. And we see a lot of people in this area. We see a lot of people through this area. You don't want to get down here. It's hard to get out of here. Let's go back one slide. Let's go forward again. Okay, that was just a little preview of those words. So you've all got your little stories in your head. How will you remember that? The thing went to the thing. Okay, now I want you to take some time and just write down those 10 words that we just looked at. See if you can write them down. This is an actual functional test. And there should be a blank piece of paper somewhere in there. And they don't necessarily have to be in the right order. But if they are, you get bonus. And this is a test of brain function. This is a standard brain function test. Okay, everybody got some down? I'm going to give you another 7 seconds, and then we're going to go back one slide. But before we go back one slide, okay, anybody get less than 5? Good. Flip back there, Melina. One slide back. Right. So if you got less than 5 on that, your brain's struggling. If you got between 5 and 7, you're doing okay. If you got above 7 to 10, you're doing great, and you might create stories up about the car that drove up the mountain, found a pen and all that sort of stuff. Got the apple, fed the horse, stopped by the sunflowers, fished the salmon, then got on the computer to see if you need an umbrella and where your clothes need to go in the dryer. Let's go forward. That's how I remember it anyway. Okay, so we're on this guy. So we're talking about physical fitness, and what tends to happen is we start off real strong, we have stress over time, and it can take us down. Let's go to the next slide through here. What we're looking at about here, we're looking at, first that happens, we get barriers to healing. When we're young and we get owies or something happens, we get stress, our body's so resilient. Our brains are making bucket loads of enzymes that just drop through us, and we can have a crazy night out as a teenager. We can play a sport game the next day, and we can be just fine. But as we get older, that resilience kind of goes away. And one of the things that happens is we get trauma. You know, it could be emotional trauma, it could be mental trauma, it could be physical trauma, it could be injuries. We can get inflamed, we can get cut, we can get scars, we can get exposed to toxic metals and chemicals. 40 years ago, a lot of the things that we were exposed to, we didn't know they were carcinogenic, right? Things like methyl ethyl ketone in aviation plants, and you know, I worked in some of those when I was doing some pre-med in San Francisco, and those guys that used to take baths in MEK, highly carcinogenic. They didn't know that at the time. Digestive issues can wear us down because that's where we absorb all our minerals. Weak immune system, part of that can be inherited, but as these things move forward and get worse, they can develop some foundational weaknesses. And foundational weaknesses are things like anemia, thyroid disorders, impaired liver function, poor blood sugar control, all of these things that can happen, hormonal imbalances, constipation, irritable bowel, osteopenia. And as these things move forward, then we get a diagnosed disease, right? You've got this, or you've got this, and you've got this, and that's how it goes. But we're looking at trying to arrest some of these things so we can try and move back this way and get a more adaptability to stress and better healing capabilities. And that's the big picture you want to see as you go through these stressful times, right? How do I want to do this? Why is this important to me? Let's move forward. So one of the things that happens in wintertime is we have less light and we have more cravings, typically. We live in not a terrible cold, you know, it's very mild weather here. It's very mild. It never really gets cold here. We had a little taste of it about 3 weeks ago when it got down to 0 a little bit. But it doesn't snow. It doesn't freeze. It's not frosted all the time. It's kind of pretty mellow weather, but it does get dark here. And it doesn't get dark real early, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but it gets dark about 4:30. And sometimes there's a lot of clouds, right? So one of the things that happens is we can start getting some cravings, or we can feel like, you know, I'm kind of feeling a little bit now. And there's many factors to it, but some of the factors are you start to crave sweets, starches, fatty foods, and chocolate to boost your serotonin. This is a neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitter is a way the brain communicates. All the neurons in the brain, we know the brain runs the body, right? And the neurons all communicate to decide what to do. They're called neurotransmitters. That's how the neurons. So serotonin is one of the neurotransmitters. And a lot of times it'll get a little lower during the winter time, because serotonin responds to light, okay? So one of the reasons people feel good in the sunshine, it helps the conversion of serotonin to melatonin, okay? Which helps you sleep well. When this is low and out of balance, you can crave more, especially things like chocolate and fatty foods. Other things can happen too. You can get other neurotransmitters like GABA, which is the only neurotransmitter that doesn't excite you. This mellows you out, okay? It's the only one out of your neurotransmitters that mellows you out. But you won't crave fats as much, but you'll crave sweets and starches. So these mean things, you know, when you get cravings. It doesn't necessarily mean you've got low blood sugar, although that could be part of it, okay? But when you get into these situations, when you're feeling a little depressed, you can crave food a little more. And you notice that alcohol's in there too, tobacco, painkillers. When people get under stress, because it takes time to put together and prepare food or cook food, we don't have the time to do it, and we just go to different things. And when we go to different things, the body doesn't work as well. Okay, has everybody ever experienced that? Where you grab something fast or something processed because you had to. And maybe you had to on that day because we had too much going on to prepare for it. We've all been in that situation. But one of the things that happens is that can turn into a habit, right? Oh, I'll just get this. It's like if you're eating at Whole Foods every time, that's just upmarket fast food, right? It's a bit better for you. It's probably a lot better for you than McDonald's, but you know, it's still, you're not preparing it yourself. And it's probably better than that. Let's move forward on the slide there. So food cravings can help us determine if our brain is getting fatigued, okay? And brain fatigue is something, before you start thinking, oh, I've got to check all my neurotransmitters out, just remember 3 things about the brain. The brain works really well when hormones are balanced, okay? When we get extra levels of estrogen, or we get low levels of estrogen, it affects all the neurotransmitters. So if you're going through a perimenopausal period, your brain's not going to work as well. Serotonin level is not going to be as high. You're going to crave chocolate. And it's going to make you feel good for a nanosecond. And then not. Hormones will change the way your brain works. Blood sugar is huge. You guys all know that blood sugar fluctuates during the day, and to have good energy we need consistent blood sugar. So if you're getting up here and say you have a bunch of carbohydrates in the morning, this is going to go right up there. You're going to burn through it and it's going to crash. What are you going to do right here? You're going to crave. And then it goes up again, and then it crashes again, and then you're going to crave again. So if we can have some proteins and fats in here, this isn't going to go up as fast, but it's going to level out a little bit. And then we're going to burn through it. And figuring out where we burn through food and catching it here and having a snack will head off the craving. Blood sugar will balance out, and you won't be yo-yoing like this, but it will balance your brain out too. Okay, does that make sense? Nobody's in this room has ever experienced this before, right? We all have, yeah, we're all been there. And if you go onto our website, aggerchiro.com, I've got a video that shows all of that. Breaks it all down. It's a quick little video. But blood sugar is very, very important for the brain. The final thing that's important for the brain is gut health. We know that the gut-brain connection is just like that. It's very, very quick. When someone gets a head injury, they get a concussion, within 4 hours, they have some irritable bowel symptoms. Within 4 hours. And what's happening there is that what we've realized is that there's more neurons in the gut than there are in the whole nervous system. Okay, it's called your enteric nerve, your second brain, down through here. And vice versa, when you get an upset here in the gut, it can go to the brain too. So you're feeling confused and upset down through here, things aren't working as well, things don't work as well in the brain. Very, very common. And you see this with gluten intolerance. People call it gluten ataxia. Some people are very sensitive to wheat, and you can give somebody very sensitive to wheat with a blood-brain barrier that's not working well. You know, the blood-brain barrier is there to keep infections out of the brain, right? It means that the blood doesn't pass through that, it becomes cerebral spinal fluid, right, to protect it. Well, that gets permutated, it gets broken, and we get stuff going through there on a regular basis. And a lot of people are very inflamed in their enteric, their guts, and it gets the brain confused too. So very common, and vice versa. If somebody has irritable bowel syndrome, or they eat foreign protein, and it goes into the bloodstream down here, it affects the brain too. So blood sugar, gut health, and hormone balance. Think those first before you think of neurotransmitters. But food cravings also help us to see that too. So 20 minutes of unprotected sun each day. That's hard here. That's really hard here. It's really hard in the next 3 months here at least. And if we get lucky and there's a year that starts like 2015 where we got sunshine in February, remember that? Last year was crazy for sun. And we had too much sun, we had a bit of a drought, didn't we? And then it kind of made up for it the last 3 weeks, especially the last 3 days. We got about 6 inches. So where can you get this? Or if you don't fly away to the sun? Well, there's a couple of things you can do. A couple of things help with that. So the seasonal effective lights, high intensity lighting can make a big difference. The place you can look for there is a place called Northern Lights. And you can buy a light box. And you can put a light box if you're feeling like you're a little blue, and you're looking at your blood sugar, you're looking at your hormones, you're looking at gut health and all that fun stuff. That'll make a difference. UVB beds too, tanning. Just going into a UVB bed. Not to get tanned and then do a photo shoot in a pair of Speedos or a bikini, right? But to get some UVB, because that'll naturally get rid of depression. And then this is very important here, sleeping in the dark. Does anybody sleep with a nightlight on? Don't do it. You'll sleep deeper when you've got darkness. Because melatonin is made in the dark. Okay? This is made by the pineal gland, a little gland in the brain. So if you take melatonin, you're going to be suppressing the body's normal thing. So you shouldn't want to take melatonin for a long time. Plus, serotonin, one of these neurotransmitters, converts to melatonin. And it converts way better if we're in the dark. And if you've got to have a light on, if you absolutely can't sleep in the dark, put a mask on. Or something. It makes a huge difference. And it will balance your cortisol, which is a stress hormone. Cortisol is made from the adrenals. Very pro-inflammatory. But it'll help with that. Someone who's not sleeping a lot of times has cortisol spikes in the night. It can come from low blood sugar. This is a common time, or it can come from hormonal imbalance. Or it can come from chronic inflammation in the body. Or the gut. Good gut health, critical neurotransmitter. We've talked about that. Let's move that forward. Okay, nutritional support for this. Any minerals are going to feed the brain. What has minerals in it? Deep leafy greens, right? Who wants to eat deep leafy greens when it's cold outside and raining? We'll put them in, steam them a little bit. Don't boil them to death. I'll get rid of some of the minerals, right? But steam them a little bit. Switch it up, make it a little difference. Any excuse to get greens in is always a good idea, right? Unless you've got kidney stones, then you've got to watch which greens you're using, okay? Anybody here with kidney stones? Okay, no, so you don't have to worry about it, okay? Minchex is something we use, which is a combination of minerals that calm the brain. Centoplex is also a combination of things to calm the brain. Bacopa is a herb. It's a mixture of Bacopa, Eleuthero, and Schisandra. All take stress down, but they support the brain. Vitamin D, huge. You read about it. You see people doing huge amounts. If you can get at least 2,000 IUs a day, it can make a big difference. There's a big correlation between vitamin D, mood, and depression. Neurotransmitter evaluation and support, that's what you just filled out, or what you're going to fill out later, and send it to it. Fill it in on your own time and send it to me with your name on it. You find them, I'll take a quick look at it, and I'll say, hey Mac, your brain's really screwed up. Or I'll say, hey Mac, you're doing great. You know? No, I wouldn't say that. I'll say, you're getting some stress in some areas of your body. Let's fast forward there. Lovely. Jet lag. Who has to travel out of state? Anybody got to travel out of state? Okay. Anybody got to travel extensively in state? Okay, you guys are doing really good here. Okay. So jet lag is important. Your adrenals work every day. Everybody know what the adrenals do in the body?
They wake you up in the morning?
They wake you up in the morning. Absolutely. That's one of the best answers I've heard to that in 20 years. They wake you up in the morning. They do. Your cortisol level is the highest in the morning. That's what wakes you up. People whose circadian rhythms, they can't sleep very well, they have a hard time waking up in the morning. And a lot of times they're so fatigued because they haven't been sleeping that they don't make the cortisol in the morning to wake themselves up. That's why they've got to have, oh God, I need a cup of coffee. So you got to stimulate that. They get the caffeine to spike the adrenals. And going back to cortisol, we're talking about cortisol spiking and inflammation spiking cortisol. One of the things that happens with that is we get into a situation where we just can't get up in the morning, and because people are getting fatigued, because the adrenals are not working. So adrenal support can be very effective But again, before you look at adrenal support, always look at what's going on with blood sugar. Okay, what's going on with hormones? What's going on with the gut? What to eat? Take food with you when you travel. Who's going to relatives in the next 2 weeks? Just one?
That's it. It's like got the stomach for
You're going to 2 people going to relatives? Anybody else? No? You're going to relatives? Yeah? They're coming to you. Okay, well, same thing, right? It's still like, take food. You're going to have the food because you're hosting, right? Okay. Airports are notorious for poor quality food. They're worse than British Rail, and that's saying something. Constipation is very common when you're traveling, but it's also very common around holidays when you're eating things that you shouldn't eat. What's going to gum you up? Well, if it looks like it's going to flow through the body and pull things through, it's a good thing to eat, right? If it's a big piece of cake with loads of cream on it, you think that's going to travel well through the body? Okay, it's a common problem. So hydration is important. Your body needs about 12 glasses a day just to breathe. If it doesn't get that, does it die? No. Brain just says, heck, we're not getting any water. Let's grab some from somewhere else. Where does it grab water from? First place it goes is large muscle groups. Traps, pecs, quads, glutes, calf, back. Where do people get tight muscles? Traps, glutes, quads, calf, low back, pecs. Things tighten up. Everybody's drinking now. So keep hydrated. Because the lungs need that to breathe. They need that to breathe. If they don't get that, you die. So just grab it from other areas as well. Fiber, they're very important, fiber. Celery, apples, carrots, there's some of my favorite fiber things, but they can be lettuce, they can be chard, they can be anything, any excuse to get vegetables in, right? Because if the Surgeon General says you need 7 servings a day, 7 servings a day, that's a lot of vegetables. I have a hard time getting 7 servings in a day. So I cheat. I do a whole bunch on the front end, first thing in the morning. I just throw spinach, and I don't want to eat it raw, so I just woken up, I want my eggs. And I just put them in with the eggs, and they soften up a little bit, and I get half a bag down. My wife gets up a little later and says, where's all the spinach gone? You know? But yeah, any excuse to get this. And celery, the great thing about celery, that's going to keep your bowels moving, right? And celery's got great health effects too. But those long stringy things in the celery, the things that you're still chewing, swallow them. You know what they do? They don't get digested, but they'll pull stuff through the intestines, right? They'll clean you. Apples are the same thing. Apples have something called pectin in it. Very good fiber. Very good health benefits. Lots of different health benefits on that. Very good. Apple a day. I firmly believe that. And I always have 1 or 2 apples every day. Makes a difference. So constipation, we use fenugreek seeds that are crushed down into powder, and they will get things moving. So will choline. Choline is something in the body, it's part of the B complex, and it will relax all of your smooth muscle. So it will relax your upper intestinal tract, it will relax through here, and then you pair it with colocol, which is bile salts, and it'll get the bile. You remember what bile does, right? Bile gets rid of toxins, pulls all the toxins out, and it allows your body to emulsify fats. And we need fats, right? The brain needs fats, hormones need fats, our sex drive needs fats, anti-inflammatory fighting things need fats, our skin needs fats, our heart needs good fats. So all that good stuff. Disodium phosphate is bile salts. Take it with a full glass of water. Let's fast forward that, and then you don't leave home for a little while. It'll clear you out. So these are some of the big things that we run into. Alcohol, caffeine, sweets, immune weakness, fast food, sleep deprivation. And what happens if we do that for a few weeks? Yeah, we pretty much feel like, yeah, God, but it was Christmas. Now I'm doing a cleanse, right? But we can choose how much we stress the body with these things. Let's move that forward. Alcohol. So how far does this set you back? It depends. Okay, it depends on your health. If you're a youngster, not so much, right? If you're in your 20s and 30s, a little more. If you're in your 30s and 40s, a little more. If you're in your 40s and 50s, a little more, and so on, and so on, and so on. So the ethanol in alcohol affects the body in many different ways. First thing it does, it affects the lipids, that's the fats. Triglycerides and cholesterol. When I've got someone who I see who's a recovering alcoholic, or they are an alcoholic, or they are on the borderline, maybe I see a lot of people who do a bottle of wine a day, which is a lot. Okay? I don't care who you are, it's a lot. The triglycerides and cholesterol, it's always increasing. It's always increased. And out of these, the cholesterol is not as bad, but the triglycerides are the real killers. They're hard to get out of the body. And we do it all the time, but they're hard to get out of the body. Insulin, it will drop your blood glucose too. Alcohol does. So that gives you more insulin in the body, which is not a good thing. We all know these things: mood, concentration, and coordination. That's why it's so great when you have a few drinks, right? You just lose all that stuff. You're all relaxed. But 25% of all the alcohol is absorbed straight from your stomach into the bloodstream. Right there. The rest is absorbed further downstream in the small bowel, small down here. So 25% right off the get-go, as soon as it goes down, bing, is in the body. The rest is lower down. So if you want to absorb it a little less, get less stress on the body, there's a couple of things that you need to look at. The concentration of the drink. What's the volume? They didn't used to have volume on American drinks, but they do now. So you can see, is it 7%? Is it 3%? Is it 12%? Alcohol, know what you're dealing with. And a lot of times you don't, do you? Because it's Christmas and someone hands you a drink. Don't do that. Don't just take a drink from someone, unless you know the people. You don't know what they're giving you, right? Carbonation. Champagne is absorbed more quickly than non-sparkling drinks. That's why, if you ever had a glass of champagne, it goes right to your head. It goes right to you. It's carbonated. And you should all know this, whether the stomach's full or empty, food will slow down the absorption of alcohol. Okay? So if you know you're going to be drinking, so for example, when I go back to England, my brother, he sells cars. He's been in sales and marketing for the last 20 years. And I don't know if any of you have been in sales and marketing or sales and marketing in the UK, but people drink a lot. Every lunchtime they're down the pub. And we'll go out and he'll go through 6 pints. And I'll be on my second going, blooming heck. So now I know I will tank up with loads of water the same day to dilute the alcohol that's going to go in my body. And I'll have some food to slow it down. So I can sit there and catch up with him while he's down in pints and I'm just working through a pint, It makes a big difference. Let's go down to the next slide here. So one of the things that alcohol also does is it can irritate an already leaky gut. So when you've got irritable bowel stuff going on, you have alcohol, it can make a big difference there. Like it can really make you more inflamed. So you have to look for that too. Some of the things that support alcohol, AC carbamide through here will support the clearance of toxins through the kidney and the liver. And these are the big hitters. When someone's been drinking for a while, their liver enzymes will elevate and you'll get the fatty liver. Unfortunately, in the last 5 to 6 years, we see a lot of people with non-alcoholic fatty livers, which means their diet has just been so bad that they're starting to put fat down in the liver. It's called cirrhosis. B vitamins, very important. And we're not talking about synthetic Bs, we're talking about whole food Bs because they support the liver big time. And alcohol directly deplete B vitamins. Support for the liver here is concentrated beets, a lot of betaine, Livco, which is a combination of schisandra and milk thistle, herbs that soothe the liver, liverplex and schisandra, and digestive support can help with alcohol too. Let's move that forward. Who's got a big alcohol challenge coming up this next 3 weeks? Okay. What's the biggest challenge?
In-laws' house.
In-laws' house. It sounds like
Full bar.
full bar.
Mystery drinks.
Mystery drinks.
Mystery food.
Mystery food. Yeah, I know. So, what about you?
Just, I had a lot of friends coming over.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So, a couple of things. Make sure you get well hydrated before. Drinking a lot of water on the day before the night or before the party, and you're gonna be running around with a chicken like a chicken with your head cut off because you're hosting, right? Yeah, good luck on that one. But a little bit of food too. Get some food in the gut before you go. It's going to help. This is another thing I run into way too much. People using stimulants in the morning to wake themselves up. Too much coffee or tea. Coffee's very, very trendy. It's so trendy. It's a habit a lot of people have, and it's a crutch a lot of people have. And you get the coffee aficionados who say, "Oh, I just love such a good cup of coffee. It's just the best thing out," which is fine. Just don't abuse it. Don't overdo it. I like to think of coffee as just being a crutch because my body can't get up in the morning. And I probably drink 1 cup of coffee about every 8 years, but that's just me. Okay, but
It's also a sales thing, though, too.
I do like a good cup of black tea. But all of them have caffeine on it, and all of them are going to inhibit your adrenal glands, those things that wake you up in the morning. So just remember that. They're going to deplete them. I've got a list of some adrenal supplements through here that can make a big difference. Tretinoin, withania complex, which is a herbal complex, rhodiola, and licorice and romania through here. But there's really not a lot of, if you try and find a decent coffee, this is a coffee alternative. This is the best I could come up with. It looks rubbish, and it probably is rubbish. It doesn't taste anything like coffee. And then herbal teas down here. Herbal teas, there's the one-sided connotation of herbal tea where people just want to wear sandals and run around and say, "I'm drinking herbal tea." And then there's the other ones where there is some actually decent herbal teas out there that are a little peppy. Celestial Seasonings makes a couple of good ones. I was seeing if we had any, so I could give you all a cup, just to try and convert you into trying to get off some of the caffeine in the morning. But it becomes a habit, and it can deplete you. A lot of coffee will deplete minerals in the body, will lead to restless leg syndrome. A lot of coffee will downregulate your adrenal glands, your ability to heal. So let's move to the next slide there. Energy drinks. Anybody drink energy drinks here? Don't do it. My father-in-law, he's 84. Him and his girlfriend will go into the service station, the petrol station, gas station, and instead of buying gas or charcoal or whatever they sell, he goes for the energy drinks on the counter. 5-hour energy. And they got all sorts of things. They got caffeine in them. They got massive amounts of ginseng in them. They got all these stimulants in them. And he's just going, "Yeah, I take this, keeps me going." And you just think, man, you're doing that, and you're wondering why you don't have any energy, or you're wondering why you're still inflamed in your gut, or whatever it is. Just something. Let's move on from that. Let's advance that. This is a study I put up there. Was that energy drink consumption is associated with sleep problems among U.S. service members in combat deployment, and what they found out that, and this is a tough gig, because soldiers have got to be awake for inhumane times. But one of the things they noticed is that a lot of soldiers that are consuming, nearly half of all soldiers are consuming at least one of these drinks a day, with 15% nearly drinking 3 or more a day. And the ones drinking 3 or more energy drinks were significantly more likely to report sleeping less than 4 hours, because their cortisol levels are all imbalanced, right? The hormones are all off. And than those consuming less than 2. And those who drank 3 or more drinks a day were also more likely to report sleep disruption related to stress and illness, so their immune system shuts down, and more likely to fall asleep during briefings and guard duty. Great, right? So that's a tough gig, but the bottom line is this excess consumption can increase sleep problems and daytime sleepiness. And that's probably one of the top 5 things that we see is people who can't sleep. it's not always they're drinking energy drinks, but maybe they're just getting too many stimulants, like caffeine can do the same sort of thing. So let's move forward there. Excessive sugar. This is a tough one because any table sugar is a chemical and it's detoxed through the liver. And sugars induce more inflammation than any protein-containing foods. So when we're looking at the Christmas time, we've got to go for try and balance any of these sweet things you have, including alcohol, with protein. So chocolate, we got sugar and we got fats, right? We got the most saturated fat we got in the world called cocoa butter, right? That's what makes it taste so good combining it with the sugar, because you get the sweet hit and then you get the malleable, chewable thing. We have a herb called gymnema that we use for regulating blood sugar and healing the pancreas. And one of the things that the gymnemic the herbs do on the tongue is they take the taste buds, the sweet taste buds, and they tone them right down. So you can put liquid gymnema on somebody's tongue and then give them a bar of chocolate, and they'll just, you see their face, and they'll just go. And they start chewing, and they start chewing, and there's no sweet, it's just fat in the mouth. And it's the most interesting thing. And if you put a gymnema tab on your tongue long enough, it'll do the same thing. About a minute takes. But these induce a lot of inflammation, so we always got to mix all your chocolates with some protein. So that's where the nuts came in. Let's advance that one. So there's 7 hormones that raise blood sugar and only 1 that lowers it. Okay, this is insulin we're talking about. Because the body's built for survival. Okay, the body's not built for optimum function. It's going to survive. So our brain needs glucose. Our cells need glucose. Our muscle metabolism needs glucose. That's why we have 7 hormones that can all raise blood sugar. We have stores of sugar in our liver and in our pancreas, and glycogen and glucagon through here that can come up if we need them. But we only have 1 that lowers it. And this is why so many people get insulin resistant and type 2 diabetes, because this just gets hit so hard by all the sugar. And prior to the onset of insulin resistance, the sugar will stress the brain, the body organs, the energy systems, and all the abilities to detox through here. So we've got to be careful of this stuff. But if we've got stuff, we all got stuff we're already working on, and then we're going into the holidays. How much do we want to accelerate of the stuff that we're already working on? How much do we want to accelerate the hormone imbalances? How much do we want to accelerate those stuff? So be aware of this, okay? Let's go to the next one. So lots of small things, trying not to spike your blood sugar. These are things that can take down the excessive blood sugar. Diaplex is a great combination of pancreatic support and liver support, reduces sugar cravings. This, I love this around Christmas, inositol. This is just part of the B vitamin that cuts cravings down and improves mood. You give it to kids. Kids are craving sugar or attention deficit. We give them some inositol. It tastes like honey. It's got some honey, so it tastes sweet. And they chew this and they do better. And then the other thing that happens with people who consume a lot of sugar is their liver is so congested because the sugar, it has to handle all the sugar. And so people get prone to rashes, to skin stuff, eczema, all sorts of psoriasis stuff come from the liver getting congested from that. And then Paraplex is some good hormonal support there. Let's advance that through there. Okay, so some of the things for immune weaknesses that tend to come up more because people are challenged more, cold sores, people getting cold sores in the mouth. And that is an inefficiency to metabolize calcium. Calcium lactate is the most abundant, utilizable calcium in the body. You can convert in 1 step to be usable in the body, calcium lactate. And we add some essential fatty acid to this. You pair these 2 up, it'll take down cold sores, and they'll tend to go away. Head colds and viruses tend to come on more because not only is the weather more wet and cold, but we're exposed to more sweets and sugar, which is going to downregulate. We've got all those stresses we talked about: stress, family stress, emotional stress, travel stress, planning on top of all your normal stresses. So we tend to be more susceptible to head colds and viruses. And a head cold and viruses is just the body's way of clearing stuff out of the body. So Immuplex and the Graphis complex, it means like any one of these can make a big difference. Whole Foods C, AC, ACP, Antranex, Albizia. Bacterial infections, they tend to come on too. Again, things like complex market, organic black radish will pull out the pus in the body. And echinacea must tingle, whether it's a liquid or an echinacea product, it must make your tongue tingle. If the echinacea you're taking is not making your tongue tingle, give it to someone you don't like, okay? Because it doesn't work. These are not regular, herbs are not regulated in the United States. We could fill a room, this whole waiting room, with herbs, and we'll have the area the size of a plant pot over there of stuff that actually works. That's why we get all our herbs out of Australia, because they're regulated and they work very well. Golden seal is very good for bacterial infections too. All of this. Let's move forward on that. So what happens when you get greasy in fast food? Some people, it can make you bloat right across here. It can give you some pain right through here, or it can give you pain right back up here. The reason it gives you tightness in the back between the interscapular area is because the gallbladder gets congested, and the gallbladder will refer right up through here. Chronic ribs up through here on the right side, a lot of times can be caused by gallbladder stress. So a lot of stress on the pancreas, liver, and the gallbladder, and it increases oxidative stress. That's just the stress on the body, because we have to break down the fats. The liver's usually a little challenged anyway, and that's what makes the bile. So if you're wondering how that works, there's the liver. There's the gallbladder. Everybody here still have a gallbladder? Okay, good. There's the gallbladder, and this goes right into the intestines. So the fat comes down into the stomach, in through here, and it gets digested. However, the body tells it that the fat's here, and the gallbladder goes, hi-ya, and shoves a whole bunch of bile out through here. But if the gallbladder is sluggish, the fats are going to come down through here. It's not going to say hi-ya and shove a load of bile out. It's going to just maybe, a lot of times this is congested and moves like sludge. So the fats all don't all get emulsified, and we get bloating right through here, and constipation, because it just the fats slow everything down, right? So when greasy fast food, so can anybody think of some greasy fast food you might be eating over the Christmas? Popcorn? Taco, yeah. Or peanuts. America loves peanuts, right?
Spreads.
Spreads. Oh.
Breads, spreads, chips.
Peanut bread?
Why not?
Peanut bread's good. Peanuts. Refried beans, right? Big one. Bacon. Who doesn't love bacon? Yeah, bacon's great, right? Bacon's fantastic. How can you say no to bacon? Well, don't eat too much of it. Or take some choline, diaplex. See these words coming up again? Beta food, Livco, Liverplex, choline, diaplex, cholecol. These are the same things that we used earlier to support the liver. So you could support with just one of these, and it would make a big difference. And then glutathione is an antioxidant. This is the most powerful antioxidant. Through that, the oxidative stress that the fats can cause, especially when they go rancid, because if they don't get digested here and they hang out and you don't move them out downstairs here, they'll get rancid. And when you've got rancid fats in the body, you can get all sorts of gas that doesn't go away. You can get all sorts of situations where we just get more oxidative stress and another big handbrake on the body. So glutathione works very well as an antioxidant, and this is made from whey protein. So if you're not massively lactose intolerant, and you can do whey, and 80% of lactose intolerant people can usually handle some whey protein, because it's not the full casein in there. The cysteine in the whey protein will convert to glutathione, so a great source of glutathione. And anybody over the age of 40, the leucine in whey pro will also increase your muscle mass too. Under the age of 40, you don't usually need anything to increase your muscle mass because everything's working pretty good. And then chlorella is a good source. It's green algae, which is a very strong source of glutathione. But that will help too. Let's move that forward. Sleep deprivation. This is going to happen a little bit. You have a limited resource. It's called your energy, used for self-control and any act of self-regulation, and this can get depleted. What if we get fatigued with all the extra stress? Our power is depleted faster, our willpower, and we can lose sleep. Catching up with relatives, we're going to stay up later because we don't see them all the time. Catching up with friends, we might not see them all the time. Let's move that forward. So one of the things we need to do is balance in that. And if we're on a diet, if somebody's doing a cleanse, right? Cleanses go nuts for me with patients doing a 3-week cleanse just before Thanksgiving, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and after Christmas. But they don't usually go through Thanksgiving and they don't usually go through Christmas because people like to do transgressions. But there's a lot of self-control there. So if you can limit your time around the tempting foods, don't look at them as much, move to a different room, that helps. Little things like that instead of relying on discipline. And then exposure to stress followed by recovery is more effective for maintaining willpower. So if you're losing sleep, catch up the next day if you can, right? Does that make sense? Or catch up on the weekends. Just schedule more time to sleep. So on inadequate sleep, if you're down here tonight, you want to maintain or retrieve your health, and we're concerned about temptations. So inadequate rest and sleep, what's going to help? Minerals make a huge difference. Some of these minerals again. You can soak in an Epsom salt bath. That'll help too. You'll get magnesium in the body. It'll help you sleep deeper. Adrenal support or adrenochrome, which is phosphatidylserine, and 5-HTP, which converts into melatonin. It'll all help you sleep if you're having problems sleeping. Some adrenochrome, you can just put it on. It'll help you. But there's some things that can help you sleep. Let's move that on then. So one of the things that I want to look at is stay on your program. If you're on a nutritional program, try and stay on your program if you're traveling. You guys aren't traveling, you're all staying here, but you still got to go to the mystery drink place and the even more mysterious food, right? Or we got a host, right? Get adequate sleep or catch up. So if you know you're running late, if you know it's going to be a crazy night, book some more time sleeping. Stay hydrated. Dilute before you pollute. I love that. I love that. The answer to pollution is dilution, right? Avoid processed sugary foods. It speaks for itself. You want to flay yourself up, eat sugary foods. You can have fun without eating sugary foods. And what about the thing that always did it for you when you were 15 or when you were 5? Have a tiny little bite. And then you go, oh, God, it's not as good as it used to be 30 years ago or whatever, right? Or 10 years ago. Just do it small. Limit alcohol for the best results. Be strategic. How many people want to go out and get drunk this thing? No, I mean, that's not what we do, right? We just want to relax and have fun with friends.
People who are here don't want to do that.
Yeah, people that are here don't want to do that. So the other people that are not here, the other people that are not here, that you're going to be interacting with, I might be doing that. And, consider all the brain health in your decisions. And to cleanse or not a cleanse. If you're on a cleanse, then you've got to work a little harder because when you're on a cleanse, you're not doing any wheat, you're not doing any milk, you're not doing any caffeine, you're not doing any alcohol. And you're probably you start feeling fantastic, and then you see all this stuff around you. How does that work? It works. I have a number of patients on cleanses through Christmas, which is fine, but their health is more important to them than failing, and that's important. Let's go to the next slide. So I want you to take a moment. I want you to take your piece of paper. I want you to write down your most pressing health concern. Write it down. What is it? Make it real. Let's get back into this space. And make a plan to handle it through the holidays. What is the biggest challenge going to be? What do you see coming up? Is it family stress? Is it kids? Is it parents? Is it siblings? Is it in-laws? Is it all 5? How are you going to prepare yourself? Are we going to get enough sleep to get through it? Do we need to pick up some supplements to get through it? Are we having a hard time on our problem? Is there any food habits that will help you? Is there any food habits that's really bugging you, good or bad right now? Are there any supplements that can help? If you're currently on Agger Chiropractic Nutrition Clinic program, what questions do you have for our doctors? Do you have any questions before you go forward on that we need to tweak, okay, to help you get through this better so you can maintain your health goals? Because that's what we're here for, right? We want to shine. We want to be the best we can be, and we want to interact with the world and just have a good time. And quite frankly, most of us don't have the time or the energy to get sucked down and go down to the roots. Because if you wanted to do that, you wouldn't be here. Let's go to the next slide then. Okay. So if you're not currently on a program, you want to know where to get started, take advantage of our special friends and family referral program. These little guys that we have, little pink cards for friends and family. And they will give you, and on a piece of paper just by themselves, they're not worth anything. It's just a piece of paper. But as soon as Alina signs or initials these, they're worth $150. But these things are important. These things are important. And it's important going back to, I'm glad everybody's brain health is not tanking right now. Okay? But that's something that is a big concern. Inflammation in the brain, hormone imbalance, blood sugar imbalance, gut health. They're all things that as we improve, we get our vitality back. And we're all on the road on maintaining our vitality or trying to retrieve it. So we don't go down the other way. Because the average situation with regards to diabetes in this country, heart disease, and cancer is just it's incredible. And we're standing up against that. Let's click that one more time. So that's not a Christmassy picture at all. But it's the beauty of some poppies that come up for about 2 weeks in my back garden. And they're so vibrant. I always like to share that. Because that's you guys getting through this stuff. I want you to think of the cost benefits to going through the sort of choices you make over the holiday season. It's very easy to say no. It gives you a lot of power, but I don't want it to give you guilt either. You gotta feel good and feel sorry for yourself.